There is something real here.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UFOs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the first-hand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General. Biologics came to some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Those could represent exquisite new adversary technology.
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still in the program.
The government is covering up some level of its knowledge and understanding about what some of those things are.
The Sol Foundation, which just announced a new initiative for UFO research and policy.
It's nuts, man. I mean, we're just small-town buds who saw a UFO in the woods. I mean, now we're hanging out with the government.
Wow. What floor were you guys on?
Good evening, everybody. This is Smiles Lewis, and you are tuned into another live edition of Anomaly Now, straight out of Austin, Texas. This is the weekly live news roundup show for the 501c3 nonprofit Scientific Anomaly Institute, aka the Anomaly Archives, as I said, located here in Austin, Texas. And it is Wednesday, and it is almost June. It is May 29th, 2024. Thank you for tuning in live, or thank you for listening to the rebroadcast. You can like and subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can subscribe to our audio-only version of the podcast via Spreaker.com or your favorite podcast outlets, Spotify, all those other ones. And, of course, the audio video is here on our YouTube channel. And tonight we are streaming to our Anomaly Archives Instagram channel. I thought I had done it before, but apparently it's a little more complicated than I thought. Well, I'm going to jump right in with all the news that's not fit for print. You can, of course, go to our website, anomalyarchives.org, and find links to our Flipboard, where we have all kinds of news and links, thousands of articles over the past many years, where I put stuff so that I can read it later. As I'm sure you all often have that feeling of it is hard to keep up with all the news. There is just it's the jumping Jesus phenomena, as Robert Anton Wilson called it. I think this idea of the doubling of human knowledge every quicker and quicker periods of time, shorter and shorter, until we reach that singularity. Yes, it's coming. The singularity is coming for you, folks. Well, over at the stream, over at the Flipboard, of course, we've got a ton of links. Oh, I almost forgot about this one. There is a conference coming up in Boca Raton, Florida, Gold Coast A.R.E. area team. That's the Association for Research and Enlightenment. That's the Edgar Cayce organization. Our good friends, Dr. Greg Little, is going to be presenting along with his wife, Dr. Lora Little, and their really good friends and research partner, Andrew Collins. They're going to talk about Edgar Cayce's Origins of Civilization, Native American Mounds, Egypt, Turkey, and the Search for Atlantis. So that is one of their favorite subject matters. And you can go over to, areevents.exactwebsites.com. And I'll try to put this in the link. There is the information about that conference. But yeah, so much going on. Oh, did I not? Did I not click over? Yeah, there it is. And yeah, I'll that is over here in the Flipboard. Well, besides upcoming events, man, lots of UFO news. Gonna just go through this real quick. Thanks to Greg Bishop over at the Radio Misterioso Facebook group. JapanTimes.co.jp, Japan lawmakers to create group for government probes into UFOs. Not a long article, just in making an announcement. Apparently, Japanese lawmakers met on Tuesday to create a nonpartisan group that will ask the government to establish an organization for investigating unidentified UAP, blah, 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 blah. Lawmaker group will be chaired by Yasukazu Hamada, parliamentary affairs leader of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Former Environment Minister Shinjiro Koizumi, also from the LDP, will serve as Secretary General. The group will hold its founding general meeting on June 6th after Tuesday's recent preparatory meeting, which was held in Parliament. U.S. government has created a specialized organization in the Defense Department to probe UAP. The lawmaker group will urge the government to gather and analyze information on UAP, pursue cooperation with Washington by forming a counterpart organization. Really curious if we'll see anything significant from this. Obviously, Japan is a significant ally of the United States ever since World War II's end. And I really wonder how concerted of an effort this might be behind the scenes. I would say that there has always been a significant Japanese contingent of UFO interested folks. But we'll keep an eye on this and see where it all leads. Somebody else getting some archival, much deserved love is David Marler and his UFO Historical Research Records Center, NUFORC, NUFORC. I'm getting the acronym wrong, but great organization. They've really, they are North America's best archive of UFO material, particularly the hardcore foundational UFO cases. And they are doing such great work. And over at KRQE.com in New Mexico, that is one of the Albuquerque networks there, has covered them a couple of times now. And this most recent May 21st, May 22nd article, New Mexico's UFO incidents you've never heard of. Of course, there's like 5 little nice vignettes, interviews, not really interviews. There are 5 little vignettes featuring David Marler, opening as the top one there. It's about a minute and a half, and each other one is about 4 or 5 minutes, I think. And he opens by saying, of course, people think about Roswell when they think of New Mexico and UFOs, but there's so much more to the UFO scene there. And he goes into brief descriptions of a couple of different incidents that they've investigated, including the 1957 Albuquerque radar incident, where, quote, the object actually violated the base perimeter at Kirtland Air Force Base, and 2 seasoned personnel were observing the object from the control tower at Kirtland with binoculars. And then he goes on to another 1959 super speed incident. And this other one, this is the one I really was very interested in hearing about, and I was not disappointed by the video. You should check that out. 1964 Hobbs burn case. Of course, Hobbs, if you're a Fortean, you know that is an interesting and important paranormal name. It is Hobbs, Hobbs End, Hobble. These are connected to signs of the devil, and these are names that are often given to places that have significant paranormal activity, that have developed, just like places with devil in the name. One of the quotes here: the boy's grandmother was standing just feet from him when the incident occurred. What they both described was seeing this black top-shaped object that hovered over a nearby building, and he looked at it and he stood up and he moved to the left, and the object mimicked his maneuver, and it moved to the left and he hovered. Ultimately, the object came over him, over the kid, and a jet of fire came down on him and physically burned him. This is one of those cases where the witness was, in fact, horribly injured. And if I'm understanding the case, David Marler and his organization's researchers were able to find this child witness from back in, what was the 64, and have re-interviewed him. So he touches on that in the video. And then there's another one, the 1950 Farmington incident. Anyway, these are all little great vignettes. I highly recommend you go over to krqe.com and check out these vignettes featuring David Marler. Speaking of other UFO archives, Grant Cameron, the interesting Canadian UFO researcher who's been at this for many, many, many years, he was made most famous, just like David Marler was made famous through his research into triangular UFOs. He's gone so far beyond that now, but that was one of the things that he first researched hardcore and became associated with. Grant Cameron is most famous for his efforts in identifying information related to the United States presidents and what they may or may not have known and their involvement in the UFO historical timeline. Well, he has been digitizing madly all kinds of files from his library of materials, and he just recently, in the last day or so, posted them with this OneDrive link. And I think within 24 hours or less, the system got shut down. I don't know if it was one of those bandwidth issues or whatever, but we got, I think, the majority. Well, that's not true. We got a huge chunk of his materials copied over before the link stopped working. So this link is to MUFOG, which I'm not familiar with, mufog.co.uk. I'm not familiar with what MUFOG stands for, but MUFOG, UFO fog. I kind of like that. I think that's funny. Anyway, I don't know if there's much point in publishing the link to this because it appears to still be down. Maybe it'll come back up. Maybe we can get the rest of those files. In other UFO related news, this article over at CaliforniaDesertArt.com, Edgewalker. There we go. Columba Krebs search for cosmic community. This is one of those wonderful situations where another UFO contactee has been identified. That in and of itself would be interesting, but even more interesting is that it was a woman contactee, and she was an outside artist, nay, a comic book artist. And this is news to me, and I know news to several others. Just a little bit from this extensive article. On the final night of the Joshua Tree spacecraft convention in 1958, Hollywood stuntmen tumbled 7 stories off the face of giant rock. Columba Krebs waited in the wings while organizer George Van Tassel's daughters performed songs taught to them by the Space Brothers. Ooh. Then came announcements on the loudspeaker. The steel column had been set for the dome-shaped structure called the Integratron. Okay, this is just a weird... weird aside, has nothing to do with this article other than my memory was just jogged by the mention of the Integratron. I don't know if this is real or not, but somebody recently posted I think a business card associated with the new management of the Integratron out there in Landers, California. And the person managing it is Michael Aquino. I don't know if it's the Michael Aquino. Okay. Aside ended. Y'all can think on that. I'll try to dig into that later. But finally, as the crowd was growing sleepy, a tall, imposing-looking woman took the stage to show her paintings. The crowd was hushed as they took in Columba's visions of spirals, planets, and humans ascending. In Columba's vision of transcendence, the spacemen come to Earth and take poor people along with them on the ride home. Informed by Christian socialist ideals, the presenter was a comic book artist, a rarity for women when she started in the 1930s, a science fiction writer, book illustrator, and painter, one of the few women in the elite class of 1950s UFO contactees. Her giant rock performance seemed like a made-for-Hollywood artist's debut. She settled near Joshua Tree and started writing. The years following would be the most productive of her life. Her book, The Moon is Inhabited, recently reprinted, was inspired by visions in the desert, including a scene with spacemen consulting President Eisenhower near Palm Springs. There's more great art there you can check out. There's the cover of the book, and it goes into some detail about how the researchers discovered her and have been unearthing more of her material. Look at this art. I just love this. This is just great stuff. I hope they're able to find more of her work, and we can hear more about this intriguing contactee artist from the time. And again, this is over at CaliforniaDesertArt.com. Edgewalker, Columba Krebs, search for cosmic community. And there are just some more samples of her art, including her comic book art and some photographs of her, I assume, and family. Great stuff. Oh, is that really her? Wait, nope. Who is this? I think this is Culverwell struggles to tell people what they want to know about her mother, but she's missing a store of firsthand knowledge. Okay, well, I'm gonna dive further into this myself. And this is the picture of Columba, Krebs, and friends at Buck Nelson's Flying Saucer Convention 1966, which reminds me, I did also I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show, but recently in connection with the eclipse was the revival, I think, the first time ever revival of the Buck Nelson UFO Festival. Don't have any real details about it, but for those who are really into the contactees, you may remember Buck Nelson as this very hickish looking fellow with the spiky hair in this picture over here, and just looked like a regular rural fellow. There's the spiky hair right there, and this other picture of him, and all these pictures he's wearing his overalls, and this famous picture for one of the publications of his book, My Trip to Mars, the Moon, and Venus, where he was having his spacecraft convention at I guess it was the first Buck Nelson festival, where I love the S in space. Spacecraft is backwards, and there's an arrow, and it's one of those weird classic pieces of UFO history. And if you just do a search for Buck Nelson UFO Festival 2024, there's a lot of different articles that covered this. Mountain View's Buck Nelson Festival plans finalized. 2024 Buck Nelson Festival to coincide with solar eclipse. Buck Nelson Festival / Metal to the Pedal 2025. Oh boy, I think they've already planned something new for next year. Goodness. All right. Moving right along to equally lurid UFO related news. This article from over at foxnews.com, Las Vegas alien video shows at least 2 quote unquote beings using cloaking device. I'm opening it up to peer review, says the evidence guy. The evidence guy. So that infamous Las Vegas case that seemed to, like several classic 1950s cases, seems to be triggered by a green fireball in the sky that was seen across multiple states, and convinced people at their house that they were under attack or being visited by strange tall creatures. And this is the one where the police arrived and their body cam footage is available. And this investigator, Scott Roeder, who, quote, has testified as an expert in some of the most highly publicized criminal cases in the world, broke down a video of a reported alien sighting in Las Vegas frame by frame. You can look at the video and decide for yourself. To me, what I see is bad cameras with weird video distortion that, kind of looks like an obscured Predator, the movie style cloaking device, but more just looks like weird junk in the camera field of view. Not familiar with this Scott Roeder. He is apparently crime scene reconstruction expert, according to evidence-room.net, where I found information about him. You can look him up. He's staking his credibility on this case. I don't know if this is such a good idea for his career, but bless his heart for going out on a limb when it comes to UFO related stuff, and in a sense defending the honor and story of the witnesses, the family that called 911 because they were so freaked out allegedly by what was going on. Over at foxnews.com, and there's a previous article related to this as well, from this past month, that is more of this fellow talking about his belief that this is significant, and the idea of offering it up to peer review. Well, okay, I think he's just trying to say somebody else somebody with forensic abilities look at this and tell me I'm not crazy. Well, again, we'll see if we start hearing more about Scott Roeder in the future. Someone, of course, we've heard a lot about over the last several years, or since about 2016 or so, is friend, acquaintance, Dr. Diana Walsh Pasulka, who, of course, has published 2 UFO books now. And this article over at Salon.com, Apocalypse Now and Always on UFOs, AI, and Encounters with Non-Human Intelligence, author and religious scholar D.W. Pasulka explores the blurred lines between technology and spirituality. This is by Troy Farah, and it's basically just it's a print interview that's also a review of the book. Obviously, this person, the writer, has read the book and is interviewing her about the contents of it. I do recommend this book, and it's not necessarily like a comprehensive overview of the UFO phenomena from all the important angles, but from her perspective as a religious professor, religious scholar, religious studies effort, I think she's hit it another one out of the ballpark, while also stirring up a lot of controversy and questions, but haven't really had the chance to dig into this interview yet. But it's a decent length, and of course it says it's been edited for length and clarity. That's over at Salon.com, and we've already sung her praises. We'll have more from Diana in the future, I suspect. Meanwhile, in some non-UFO related news, this one is so awesome, good, amazing. Over at singular14.com, Big Cat DNA publicly confirmed for first time in United Kingdom. Now, we Forteans, Anomalous, we love our acronyms. We prefer UFO over UAP, this personal one. But Big Black Cats, I'm not going to say the acronym, but there's so many different weird phenomena that stray into the realms of cryptozoology, and big black cats, or mystery felines, out of place felines, are one that has, of course, intrigued me and many others. This one is pretty significant. They apparently have had some DNA samples found on a sheep carcass, if I'm remembering correctly. Let's see. The DNA was reportedly found on a sheep carcass discovered by Cumbrian resident Sharon Larkin Snowden in an undisclosed location in October of last year. Larkin Snowden said the sheep carcass was fresh when she found it, and that she had interrupted whatever had been feeding on it since the animal took off running towards a stone wall before disappearing over it. Quote, "I assumed at first it was a sheepdog, but then I did a double take and realized it was a black cat," she said on Rick Minter's Big Cat Conversations podcast. Quote, "It was big, the size of a German Shepherd dog." DNA analysis performed by Professor Robin Alibi at a laboratory at the University of Warwick confirmed Minter's suspicion, showing that the DNA belongs to an animal in the Panthera genus, probably a leopard. There's a link to this BBC Wildlife article. Oh, I didn't open that one, but this all links over to the forensic website of warwick.ac.uk. School of Life Sciences, forensic test for canids and big cats. And yeah, check it out. We'll see. This has been a belief among Forteans, cryptozoologists for a long time. Never sure whether this is just misidentifications like so many other phenomena, or actually evidence of presumably breeding population, even though it seems hard to believe, but isn't all this stuff. That's why it's anomalous. Okay, well, we are in weird times, but you knew that already. Go over to gizmodo.com, and it's really weird when you're listening to the radio and you hear ads for hallucination-free AI searches and whatnot. But as the headline says, Google search is now a giant hallucination. Google rolled out AI overviews across the United States this month, exposing its flagship product to the hallucinations of large language models. What can you say other than we live in interesting, bizarro times where tech companies, in their rush to roll out the latest AI-powered technologies, are feeding the misinformation, disinformation world ecosystem through hallucinating AI. All this basically amounts to is, yes, you ask the best AI a question, and it's garbage in, garbage out. And so if it's digested enough BS, enough horse hockey, it's going to mix all that in, and it's going to have a hard time differentiating. And then it gets into like, well, how do you program it to be discerning? How do you train something that's not even, as far as we know, conscious or a child level of intelligence, how to be discerning and judge whether something is likely to be true or not? That's something we run into as a problem all the time. And again, that's over at gizmodo.com. Now, this headline over at theguardian.com, shame and betrayal, sexual abuse within the spiritual healing industry comes to light. Scandalous behavior that has dogged the Catholic Church is becoming increasingly common in shamanic healing circles. Now, to me, this is so much more widespread than people want to believe. And it's obviously made more dangerous, I suppose, by the involvement of drugs. All I really want to say about this is, there's a massive sea change in the psychedelics, entheogen, psychopharmacology community. The psychedelic drugs that many of us grew up on, experimenting with, have become mainstream. And while I think that is ultimately a good thing, there are some really weird, dark things happening at high levels. And by that, I mean, there are all kinds of allegations circulating about some of the top psychedelic corporations, nonprofits, I'll say. I am not going to name names here. This is not my area of forte, but I have heard enough to know that just like in any community, there are criminals and there are psychopaths, sociopaths, criminally minded, or just messed up in the head people who are going to gravitate to circumstances where they can exert power and influence over others that they find some kind of sick, twisted pleasure in sexually dominating. But just be careful out there. And this article particularly focuses on the ayahuasca spirit vine oriented shamanic therapies that are so vogue now. But I'd suggest a few searches about other larger organizations with similar problems. Back to the animal kingdom. We're all just animals, right? Some of us more animalistic than others. LiveScience.com headline: Crows can count out loud. Startling study reveals. Whoa. Okay. This says this is the first time an animal other than humans has been seen performing the feat of vocal numeracy. And no, this video does not show that as far as I'm aware, but there's a link to the article over in Science where you can find out more about the deets on this study that basically trained crows to verbalize and respond to numeric symbols and to vocalize, I guess, a number of times. I don't think they're actually saying the numbers. I think they're vocalizing the number of times. But It says here, producing a specific number of vocalizations with purpose requires a sophisticated combination of numerical abilities and vocal control, the researchers wrote in the study. Quote, our results demonstrate that crows can flexibly and deliberately produce an instructed number of vocalizations by using the, quote, approximate number system, a non-symbolic number estimation system shared by humans and animals. Again, you can find more about this over at science.org, whereas this article I was just reading from is from livescience.com. And, I think that's it. That's all I had. There's a ton more links over at the Flipboard. Thank you for joining us. Good night. Good night. The heck was that?